Hey everybody, I've been getting a lot of requests for clarification of the recommended Zoom security settings, and I've also have a little tidbits here and there that I keep thinking of that I want to share with you. So let's consider this our last minute huddle before school starts, though I am going to host some office hours on Monday afternoon. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to log in at zoom.us, and I'm going to walk through my recommended settings with you for security. And how we'll do it is I'm just going to scroll through the settings I have. If I don't speak to it, that means it's optional. I mean, they're all optional, but the ones I specifically recommend, those are the ones that I feel are more pressing. Okay, so here we go. Waiting room is currently locked by admin, but they're supposed to be turning it off soon and give you that option. And I'm not actually recommending waiting room because students may get locked out. So their first few ones are already locked by admin. Require passcode for PMI, I would say yes. Embed this one, embed passcode and invite link for one-click join, definitely a yes. And so those are all locked, so I'm just continue to scroll. The next one of consequence, you want to enable your person ID so you can use it sometimes, but that's not what you're going to be using for your class meetings if you're in secondary. If you're in primary and you want to, and I know that some of you are using your PMI for your normal classroom, what I do recommend is that when you host staff functions on Zoom, or if you host personal functions on Zoom, you change your password and still use your PMI, but change your password so people can't, your students can't access it when it's outside of their time. Secondary, definitely use this one. Use where it says use personal, I'm going to say PMI. PMI when scheduling a meeting, turn that off because we're generating unique IDs for each class. Not each day, but each class. Mute students upon entry is highly recommended. I would say a minute or two into class, also make sure you click that mute all button. And I generally, starting off the year, recommend don't let them allow to unmute themselves. Continuing to scroll, chat. You can turn on the chat here and then have it so they can only chat with you, and that is done through the in app menu. I don't recommend auto-saving chats because then you get a whole bunch of files that are sent to you. I don't recommend a sound notification. That gets annoying. File transfer definitely off. Co-hosting is helpful in case you want a student to share, or if you have another teacher who comes in to help you out to co-host, to turn that on. Now, let me just clarify. Some of these settings you won't see yet because you're not on the pro account yet, but that is pending any day. As soon as that rolls over, yours will automatically change. There's nothing that you need to do. So they're on it. They're working on it right now. I would show the meeting control bar because that's helpful. Screen sharing, I would turn it on, but then for now, host only. Within the meeting, you can always change that so that participants can share. Annotation, if you're never going to annotate, you're never going to write on the screen, you might as well turn that off. If you're in a class that you don't ever plan to do that, you can always change it, but if you turn it on, again, you could always set it so that only you can annotate. You can disable annotation for guests. Whiteboard, if you're not going to use it, turn it off. If you are, use it. Remote control, I just have these off. Nonverbal feedback I find kind of annoying because they can tell you to hurry up and slow down. Meeting and reactions are those emojis they could do, and it only shows on their screen, so it's not very intrusive. Allowed remove participants to rejoin. I would just turn that on so that nobody gets locked out of class. High participant profile pictures. I think it's, unless you have something inappropriate, I think having that on is okay because remember, they must be logged into their AUSD account in order to enter anyway, so you're going to know who everybody is. Breakout rooms. I better check on that. I'll get back to that. Look at that. Okay, so you had to turn this off in order for this to work. All these other ones, virtual background is up to you. I maybe recommend you turning off the allow use of videos for virtual backgrounds, that can get a little distracting. I don't know why this keeps on jumping. Sorry. Video filters, they can have, there's a function in there where they can put on like glasses and different things. So if you want that off, you should turn it off. Basically, it puts like an image on there, and it's fun and cute, and they're pretty inoffensive. I think that is all the ones I strongly recommend. Yep, I would turn off most of those notifications, and yeah, that's it. A couple other things I want to talk about real quick, and you can turn this off if you don't need them. But when you're entering Zoom on the first day, actually, this is kind of important for you to hear. It's going to be different than what it looks like when you typically start your Zoom meeting. So typically, when you start your Zoom meeting, you're hitting the Zoom app and you see this screen, and then you hit New Meeting, and then it goes straight to your video, right? It's not going to look like that because, first of all, we are not ever going to start your class meeting if you're in secondary from using the Zoom app. Primary you will, because I think you're using your PMI. But for secondary, what you're going to be doing is clicking on the link in your calendar event. And so when you click that join meeting, the screen's going to look different, right? It's going to ask you to open. It's going to open as if it were normally opening, except the screen that you see will look different. And I don't want you to freak out upon seeing it. You're going to see this screen. You're like, oh no, where's my image? These are my only choices. So what you want to do is hit start video, and then you're back to what you're normally used to. Okay, so again, when you make sure you join all your classes from the calendar if you're in secondary. Additionally, some people have asked me if I teach 2 consecutive periods, just a core. If you've created those as 2 separate events, somebody's asked, can I just stay on the same call the entire time? I would say if a kid comes in late and they click, let's say you teach 4th and 5th back to back, I would exit after 4th to give them a break. And also so that if a kid, let's say they weren't able to attend 4th, but just can attend 5th, they're going to click on your 5th period link. And so make sure you use the appropriate link. So go ahead and make that exit for 15 minutes and start the new Zoom. I would say also that on our schedules, let me just quickly point out, I'm going to go to edit on any particular event. I send out an email, but make sure these 3 over here on guest permissions are all checked off, or else they'll have the ability to invite other people to the meeting. They'll be able to see the guest list. They'll be able to modify the event. By default, I believe these 2 are checked on. So I'm just saying, make sure all of those are off on all your events. When you click save, it'll save it for the entire series. Also, if your first week schedule is a little different, feel free to add, delete, tweak those events so that students don't get confused because your schedule on the first week is different than your recurring events for the rest of the time. Other than that, Monday afternoon, I will be having office hours, and I'll probably segregate it by different topics so that you can come to the one that's appropriate for you. I'll have a section for calendar and Google Classroom and such. One last thing I'm going to show you, and I'll head out here. I know the Google Groups aren't quite ready yet, but when they are ready, I'm going to show you how to do that one more time, because many of you already created the recurring event. Some people have already had success linking their Google Classroom to Aries so that it talks to each other and self-populates. Some teachers have had issues with that. And so what I'm going to show you, if you had issues with that, we can still add the Google Group. So if you had issues with linking Google Classroom and you haven't done your calendar yet, I suggest having 3 tabs open once the groups are ready. Your Google Classroom tab, your calendar tab, and your group tab. What you're going to do is choose the appropriate group. You can click on it. And then you're going to click on the title of that group or drag and highlight it. Copy it. And then you'll first go to the calendar and pick the appropriate class. Make sure you're doing the right period. You're going to click on the little pencil up there to edit, and you're going to add guest. You're going to paste that. But you're not done. Don't hit enter here. You need to click on this below it. And now you've seen it's been properly added. Right? I'm going to exit out because I don't want to add. Well, I'm going to leave it there for now. So let me show you one more time how I did that. I was in the group screen. I copied and pasted the title. I went to guest, pasted it here by pressing Command V, and I chose the first option there. And then once I hit send, it's going to invite them all. Now, at the same time, while that address is still on your clipboard, you can go to the appropriate class. Now, this is if you were unable to link your Aries to your Google Classroom, this step was helpful. It's already on your clipboard. Just go to the people section of your Google Classroom, invite, and then paste that same email, and it's going to populate that, and you can go ahead and invite them. So if you have all three, and if you need to, again, if you've already linked your Google Classroom to Aries, no need for this step. But if you're unable to, you can actually populate your calendar and Google Classroom in one foul swoop. Two foul swoops, two foul steps. All right. So I know I talked fast, but feel free to rewind, pause, send me an email if you get stuck. We will get through this. I have a feeling that you guys are going to have fun as soon as the first minute of class starts. I think all this anticipation and preparation is super stressful, and I'm thinking it will be much more chill, and you might actually even enjoy it once we get started. But this front end is heavy and stressful. I agree. So best of luck. And again, Monday afternoon, I'm going to send out an email with some office hours available to you. Have a great one.